Hey, everybody. So thank you for joining me on this wonderful Monday evening. As always, guys, everyone who follows along on the show, you guys are what make this worth my while every single night. So all the gratitude in the world. You guys, I don't know what else to say except thank you. You are the reason why I want to do this every single day and bring as much positive energy, as much value, and as much as I can to help um, everybody who watches the show and maybe passes it on and helps grow this thing. Because again, this is a community, and you guys are helping build this up. You guys make this really special. So thank you again, guys. Always, always, always. And anytime you guys want to reach out to me, you know where to get to me. You can find me on all my social media channels. So let's go ahead and start there and get all the particulars out of the way as we usually do, everybody. So if this is your first time watching us, we are streaming live on YouTube. So you can check us out on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And that is at www.youtube.com/made from scratch broadcast on YouTube. Do us a favor, if you're watching there, hit the like and subscribe button. We are always trying to build our viewership. We just crossed the 1,000 subscriber threshold, so thank you everybody who subscribed so far. And then hit the notification bell as well, everybody. It'll let you know whenever we do schedule new live videos, whenever we drop new content on there, and then whenever we are live on YouTube. So check us out there. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. And of course, we are streaming live as well on Facebook. You can check us out on our Facebook page, and that is at www.facebook.com made from scratch podcast. A little bit different there on Facebook. But if you're watching there, do us a favor, hit the like button. It'll give you notifications, again, the same way. It'll let you know whenever we do schedule new lives. It'll also let you know whenever we are live on our Facebook page. So thank you so much. If you're watching on Facebook, drop it down in the comments. You guys rock Facebook. So we're also streaming live, of course, on Twitter. You can check us out on our Twitter handle, and that is at MFSB Live on Twitter. We are streaming live via Periscope. So same sort of deal. Follow us on Twitter. We always follow back, and I always appreciate the comments as well. It makes it always so much fun to have an interactive show. So if you're watching on Twitter, thank you so much as always. And of course, we are streaming live on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, guys, check us out on LinkedIn. You can connect with me through my personal page. I am trying to build up my business page on there as well, but we'll get to that here in just a bit. But we are streaming live on LinkedIn. So thank you guys so much. If you're watching, appreciate it. Always, always, always so much fun. And of course, wait, tonight we are doing a little bit something different. We are streaming back to our Twitch stream. So if you're watching on Twitch, which I don't know if you are, but we will find out. That is at Made from Scratch Broadcast on Twitch. We are streaming there for the first time in a while this evening. And we're already getting comments in. Look at this. Rochelle, thank you, Rochelle Wallace and David Mumford. You guys rock. And of course, Adam Posner, he is super awesome. And of course, the always wonderful and lovely Roslo. Thank you guys so much for watching. And then Mike is watching actually on Twitch. So check it out. We are rocking it. And then check it out, Mr. Steve Nudelberg. Here's the man. I've heard Adam talk so much about him. So let's go ahead and start about with this evening's guest, guys. He is awesome. He is a former Division I college coach who's turned into an entrepreneur, delivering the disciplines of winning in business. So he's building relationships through sales, digital marketing, his digital marketing expertise, and he's bringing his winning attitude to the business community. So before I get into it, though, and introduce this evening's guest, I'm just going to play you guys a little bit of intro of what he is about. So guys, check this out real quick. This is pretty awesome. You can see the fire. You can see why he is such an awesome, positive guy. So here we go. Just a second. Here we go.
So what do we do? Right, so there's not a question. It's not do you want to. Make the call and let's go. Drive it, get there. Good. Hey, let's go. Communicate here. Hey, remember, field's condensed, right? Put bodies on it. Get on people. You're sitting there on these coming right to you. Don't open your hips up like this. Right? Stay there. Collision at a 45 and now jump the dig. Hey, more depth. Get to the pylon. You got me more depth so you're deeper on that route. Otis, how about a flat foot and collision is ruined? Right? You ain't just opening and running with them. Get hands on them, right? Funnel them inside. Yeah! Hey, that's it, Zay. Out of the way, Zay. Hey, now make that. Now make that. Hey, thumbs and fingers together. Thumbs and fingers together. No space between the hands. Go like we're running. Go like we're running. No, come here, Otis. Come here. Otis, come here like this. Right here. Right here. Right here. Bang. 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 Right there, right? I'm running. I take it off the foot. Running, take it off the foot.
So that's just a little bit of how much enthusiasm he brings to whatever he does. So guys, do me a favor and help me welcome tonight's guest, Marc Nudelberg, to the show. How are you doing, Mr. Marc, my friend?
Oh, Gabe, I'm fantastic. that video got me fired up a little bit.
All right. So, and again, you can see a lot of the passion, the fire, the grit, and I can see how when you bring that to the business world, that can be very, very intoxicating to people who are trying to, first of all, want to learn about getting into like entrepreneurship or learning how to even step out of the boundaries of leaving a regular job. So why don't we talk a little bit first about your journey and how you got started from leaving the athletics community and starting into the business community. Walk us through that a little bit, because that's a pretty interesting process.
Yeah. I grew up with a entrepreneurial father. My dad, Steve Nudelberg, has built and been a part of a lot of businesses when I was growing up. And so I always kind of had that brain and that entrepreneurial brain of looking at things a little differently and not necessarily going by social norms all the time. But when I got involved with college football while I was in school as a student assistant and then got hired full-time when I graduated, that had become a passion. That had become something that I wanted, my own dream that I wanted to chase, which I did. So I did that for 10 years. I was a special teams coordinator or worked with special teams every school that I was at. I went from Florida State University to Cincinnati to the University of Florida, to the University of Nevada, to Lafayette College, which was the last stop that you had just saw. And I worked on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, and always on special teams. So I think having my own lane and kind of doing my own thing off on my own for a while, it was great. It showed me that I could do anything that I wanted to do. I was really successful as a special teams coordinator. And I won some championships with some teams that I was with, and we were always highly ranked on special teams. And that kind of laid the foundation for me to not be afraid to I always knew that I could pivot if I wanted to. Yeah. Like, hey, if this isn't what I'm all about all the time, then this isn't what I need to do, because in college football coaching and in coaching in general, if you're not willing to devote your every second of your life to it, you'll never be the best at it, because that's exactly what it takes. So when I started thinking, maybe this wasn't what I wanted to do anymore, maybe I wasn't as committed to the long haul, and I was in a working environment that I really wasn't happy in, and that just wouldn't work anymore. Yeah. First person I call, which as most, scenarios have happened in my life, was my dad. And I said, hey, it's time to make a change. And he was really excited, I think, because I think he was excited at the opportunity of me to come home and do some, get into the business world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. And I just, pull the ripcord as best as I could describe it. Is I literally went from being a college football coach on a Friday to being unemployed for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Being home in South Florida, actively looking for a job, meeting entrepreneurs, meeting people business owners, and figuring out what what industry of business development I was going to go into. I knew I was going to go into biz dev. I knew I was going to be a sales professional. I just didn't know where I was going to do it. I didn't know if it was going to be in medical recruiting or, with a startup or a new software company. I didn't know where it was going to be. And I ended up landing with Good Karma Brands in West Palm Beach, Florida, which is like a local operator of ESPN. They ran the radio station there, digital marketing and event hospitality and sponsorship. So that's really the short version of how it. There's a lot of fear and anxiety, and at 32 years old, I started over. I completely lit a match to 10 years of a career. I had no idea the parallels that were gonna work for me as I got into the business world, or that I would end up in the seat that I'm in right now of just delivering the simple disciplines of success that made me successful in coaching that transitioned directly over to business. But that's what the journey's about, man. It's just, you take the leap of faith. If you believe in your heart that you're willing to outwork whatever adversity will come your way, then it's just about the doing at that point.
Exactly. Isn't it funny how some of those disciplines transition very well into the business world? I mean, that's it, because again, you're living with the same sort of principles where you have to be competitive. You have to always constantly be practicing, innovating, working, that sort of thing. So it's the same sort of things for business owners who are really successful. They don't rest on their laurels. They have to always keep, hey, let's always look at this thing. Let's reevaluate what works for us. What doesn't work for us. That's like going back and looking at game tape and saying, okay, let's change this. Let's change that. Right. Exactly. It's the same sort of thing. So it's always awesome to see that when somebody transitions like that, because again, it gives hope. It gives hope to somebody that's out there watching right now and goes, man, I don't know if I could change careers. And
it's so funny to me, because I think the barrier to entry in most change, I don't care if it's change of career, if it's change of bedtime routine, I don't care what the change is. The barrier to most of it is the fear of not knowing what will happen, right? If you stay in your job that you're in, you know where the outcome is, it's safe, you can rely on your previous knowledge to forecast the future. When you start diving into, well, I'm going to do something different, or I'm going to do something that I don't necessarily know how to do, you can't rely on any previous knowledge to forecast the future. So you don't really know what's going to happen, and you have to somehow stomach all of that anxiety and fear and say, okay, I feel it, I understand it, but I'm not going to allow it to control me or make a decision for me. And it's not an easy thing to do. You just have to do it. I mean, as Nike says, just do it. And, I mean, my dad has preached it to me since I was a young kid, but it is all about the doing all the time.
Awesome, man. And that's, I'm kind of like you. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. So I got to see a lot of the same sort of deals coming from my grandmother, my grandfather, because it was, they had to take that step out of their comfort zone, taking whatever little savings they had to start a business and going out there and putting in the work to go grow it, to put in the time to be consistent, to do so many different things. And, it doesn't matter if it was back then, even now, those sort of same principles translate. I mean, here we are talking in 2020, and there's still people who are afraid to take that next step. So, I wanted to ask a few questions. And guys, this is something we're trying new this evening. Mark's going to be the first guinea pig, but I have had a correspondent out on the street. So shout out to Roslo. Thank you so much for doing this. We wanted to start asking people on the streets if they had questions for our guests. So let me go ahead and start here, and we will ask our first question. Ooh la la. There we go. So let's.
Hey there, my name is John Hogan. My first question for you is, what is the best way to build a personal brand, and how important is it in starting a business? Second question, in the first year, if I'm not sure if I'm going to make any profit, is it better to shoot for a paper loss, invest in a website and or advertising, and write it off on my personal taxes? And my third question is, what is the best way to start a business with limited funds and or investors?
All right. So we got us some business questions here to ask. So let's go ahead. Thank you, John, for asking those questions.
Questions.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. I mean, how important is a personal brand in starting a business?
I would say it's critical. I would say that it's absolutely everything. I think we live in a world where people lead customers to the business or to the brand. It is no longer vice versa. I mean, you could probably say that Nike or Apple still exists that way, but I think when you look at Tesla, Elon Musk represents Tesla. And especially in the small business world, people buy people. And people want to know who the person is that they're buying from. So if you ever want your business to be successful, you have to have a personal brand. And there's no barrier to entry to doing that, right? I mean, the idea of, aggregating all of your social channels to represent you, and as you build your brand, building content between who you are as a person and what you do professionally, and blending both of those, forms of content into one message that builds a relationship with possible customers. And if you have a relationship with people that will do business with you, they'll do business with you forever, no matter what you do. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, if they like you, they know that you can solve a problem for them, and they'll trust you with their problems. So the greatest salespeople in the world are the ones who have the best relationships. It's the same is true for any kind of business. If you can build a relationship with customers, that's the number one place to start.
Exactly right. So, and then let's talk about. I think the second one would have to probably deal with taxes. It would probably be best left to a tax advisor. But let's talk about the third one about starting a business on limited funds or limited resources. So, what would you say to somebody who wanted to take that leap and say they wanted to get into, I don't know, let's just say for an example, life coaching, right? Here's the thing. They want to go, they've done studies, they've gotten their certifications. So what would you say to somebody who has those limited resources though and says, hey, I want to start a business. How can you direct me into what I should be doing, Mark?
I would say paid advertising goes right out the window. I mean, absolutely not. I think with as much as you can do personally, right, as much as you can do on your own through social media without paid, absolutely not. I don't think you need to spend a penny. But I believe in being able to be found no matter where people are looking for you. So I think having a website is important. It doesn't have to be a flashy website. It can be a single page that says, if you're looking for me, find me here, and direct people to find you on your social channels, because all you want people to do that are looking to buy from you is have a conversation with you. If you can get everybody that's looking for you just to have a conversation with you, then you're already going to start winning. So I would say to not have a website at all is a easy way to lose people, because not everybody finds people the same ways. That's the one thing about the internet is omni-channel, right? Everybody's got their own way. Some people are going to look on Facebook. Some people are going to look on Instagram. Some are going to look on LinkedIn. Some are just going to go to Google and type in a search for your company name. And if nothing pops up, there's a high likelihood that person is no longer looking for you anymore. Or they're going to go to the next person that shows up on that keyword search, and they're going to take that business. So exactly. I do think it's important to have, places where everybody could be looking that somehow directs everybody to the same place, which if you're starting with a low budget and you're a small company, should be you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's one of the best things that, because again, I've learned all of this, what we're talking about here, doing what I'm doing with the show. I found I had to find a way to create a landing page for me to send everybody to. I had to learn how to surf the channels of social media, which I'm still doing now. I mean, there's still things I have no clue how to navigate on social media. Like the mystery for me right now is TikTok. TikTok is not that I don't like it. I can sit there and watch TikTok for about 30 minutes,
Right.
just getting lost and watching dog videos and all kinds of stuff. But figuring out a way to be creative with it and yet able to get a message across. So, there's still things that you can learn. But again, it's like you said, though, do it on your own, get out there, start learning these channels and finding a way for people to go, hey, where can I find you at? Because it's pretty simple. Once you say you create an easy, nice landing page for you to go to send people to on your website, it's the easiest thing I do as well. They go, hey, where do I find you? I mean, I could give them, I know it by heart, but I could give them my whole YouTube page or whatever. But it's just easier to go, hey, check me out at my website. Here's the website, www. whatever it is, and send them along their way. And again, it's an easy, inexpensive way to get started. Now, of course, getting down the line, then if you start building,
grow and scale, and you start being able to purchase ClickFunnels, and digital marketing is a wild space that there are a lot of strategies, there are a lot of tactics. Not everything fits everybody, but there's a lot of way to get people into a customer journey with you and keep them going and keep hitting them, but that costs money. So until you get to the point where you have a marketing budget and figuring out which tactics fit best for you and what you're trying to accomplish, the best way to get started is to get started for free and putting in your own blood, sweat, and tears into producing your own content and making sure that you're visible to everybody in your community.
So awesome. And that's a great answer. And again, this is why if you're starting out into the business world and you're looking for a way to get footing, it's always best to try to find people who are knowledgeable in getting rolling. Even if it's in the very beginning, here's the thing, you can learn so much from so many different people. People most of the time are willing to help. Because again, if they help you grow, guess what? They're going to keep coming back. Like you said, they'll go, hey, Mark helped me grow. I'm going back. I need to ask him all these other questions. So, it's always good to reach out to somebody who's knowledgeable. So let me go and start our next question, because it has to kind of do with merging what we're talking about and where the environment you just came from. So let me go ahead and ask.
As a former college student, I've noticed that nobody is really promoting entrepreneurship at the university level. So there's like this great divide. And as a person who comes from an entrepreneurial background, I grew up in a family business, I wondered why there was such a divide. So I guess my question would be, how can we encourage college students to realize and have the confidence in knowing that entrepreneurship is for them as well, to kind of marry the best of both worlds? So you can have an education, but it doesn't mean that you have to go and work for somebody else. You can still be an entrepreneur, you can still start your own business, and your education can kind of help enrich your business. And that's my question. How do we kind of bridge the gap? All right, thank you.
All right, so wonderful question about merging education and entrepreneurship. So how would you approach this sort of idea of marrying both worlds?
It's interesting because there wasn't an entrepreneurship school when I went to school, but I know colleges like at Florida State opened their entrepreneurship school a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
So that college and that form of schooling is starting to open. But growing up with my father, and who grew up with an entrepreneurial dad, my grandfather, and his father, like that education comes from the doing. I don't know how you get taught that in school. everything my dad knows and why my dad has been so successful helping companies grow and start and get bigger and get sold and all of those kinds of things is because he's done it over and over and over. It's learned experience. Now, I do think there is a way to gain that knowledge from being taught from someone who does it. But I don't know that every professor in school, if they're not an entrepreneur, how are they going to teach that knowledge if they haven't done it themselves? So it's an interesting dynamic to me to have that blend of school. But I do think that, Gary Vee, who got very popular, over the past few years, preaching that you don't have to follow the blueprint that has been set of graduate from high school, go to school, get a job, get into the job, work your way up to the corporation, that corporate America, blueprint. I think it's been great to hear people say you don't have to do it that way. But I don't know what it's going to be like or how you can really teach entrepreneurship without just having kids start their own business. Okay, here are the basic fundamentals. Here's how you open up an S corp or a C corp, or here's all of the ins and outs of starting a business bank account and how to separate, your personal expenses from business expenses, and teaching them how to operate a small business is one thing, but how to be an entrepreneur and grow and scale a business, I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about teaching those classes now. I just got an email from Andy Frisella today about him having a mastermind group that teaches you how to grow and scale a business. I don't really know that that's cookie cutter. I really don't.
Yeah. And, again, and then putting it into the educational system, it's another sort of dynamic to it, because you're going to have to build curriculum. You have to do
system for it.
Yeah. So, but maybe that's something that needs to be looked at, because again, you get that sort of training whenever you go to, say, quote unquote, a trade school. So in a trade school, though, they're training you how to actually get ready to go into your career and start, boom, instantly into whatever it is you're following along. So if you're going to become an electrician, per se, you're going to learn a lot of the principles of what it is to be an electrician, to get into at least a good level mid-metal career and go, okay, I can learn as well in the field. So I think that's something that could be interesting to look at going into the future, is maybe even recruiting entrepreneurs who own businesses and building these sort of classes to teach in college courses. Because again, I think you're right. It's hard to teach it if you haven't learned it being out in the real world and going, hey, I can kind of tell you what it says in the books, or if there's what works on principle, but then you got the guys out there who are really knocking it out, who've put in the work and says that's not going to work in the real world.
Right. Exactly.
And that's a hard thing to kind of merge together, but it's a good question. So it's a good question. So thank you, my MFSB correspondent Roslo, for going out there and doing that. I do appreciate that very, very much. And then let's see, Allison says, yes, experience
in the crowd. That's awesome.
Yes. So learned experience counts. Opened my first business at 17 and made money as a high school senior. Wow. Then getting a 2 college degree. So yeah, so that's incredible. The fact that you can actually go, and again, that's kind of the whole thing is, right, you find you've got to be able to find a way to get these sort of institutions to understand that, yes, because here's the catch-22. They're going to throw hundreds of thousands of dollars into an education, and before they even step out to go earn a dollar, you have to figure out, well, now I have to figure out a way to go pay my student loan tuition. And then again, you're starting into careers where you don't have any kind of experience. So it's going to be hard to get stepped in. I think that's something that really, really, really would I think rocket a lot of people's careers, is getting into some sort of So let's see. Somebody says, oh, Laura says, SMU Cox has a great entrepreneurship program with the real. Oh, okay. See, look,
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that would be a great way to marry both worlds and bring it into, bring it into the 21st century, the way that we teach schooling and we teach entrepreneurship, because again, it's very hard for a lot of young people to feel comfortable to go, you know what, I just graduated college. Now let me get started on my business. Yep. Whereas opposed, if they spent the last a year or 2 years formulating a business plan, formulating, like you said, teaching them about tax brackets, teaching them about how to set up S corps, how to set up all these other things prior to actually going out into the business world, I think that would be a really great jump. And again, it only helps. It only helps not only the individual, but it helps us as an economy to get people like that into the world. Because again, if these entrepreneurs are successful, what does that do? That creates revenue, that creates jobs, that creates a way for people to continue to go out there. And that's what I think is really important whenever you're talking about, wanting to go out and start a business, because that's the dream, right? Is to get a business and you have 15, 20, 100 employees. Who knows? I mean, you start every business with the hopes of seeing. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos, when he sat down, said, this is an idea, never thinking that it would lead him to being the richest man in the world. So that tells you those ideas, those sort of people, those sort of things are out there into the world, and it's going to take entrepreneurs, to going through and learning how to do that. So that's great topic about wanting to learn how to get that into place. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about that's really interesting me, because I push this a lot, is your positive energy, Mark. Whenever we had our initial conversation, man, you had a big smile on your face. That's where, let me kind of rewind it back a little bit. I first was introduced to Mark. I saw him on live with Adam Posner. And I mean, the whole conversation, smiling, cheerful. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. I love his energy. At that point I said, I got to reach out to him. Because again, I every day try to push being positive, because again, life is already hard enough. We already have enough to deal with. So what is it to have another person alongside of me to say, hey, let's talk about positive energy and ways you can do that. So what are some of the things that you do to keep yourself positive and keep that positive vibe around you?
Yeah, my dad and I talk about this all the time, but it's having an accountability partner, an accountability coach, somebody that you can lean on. My girlfriend Gabby is somebody who I have constant dialogue with, and I'm constantly checking my mental state with, because I think everything boils down to what you're thinking, what you're doing, and then whether or not you're accountable to those first two things. So if it starts with your mindset, how do you control your mind by what you listen to and what you do? My dad and I start every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. with the Nudelberg Daily Huddle, which is live on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And we're taking 20 minutes to share our energy. So for me, like it was in coaching, I couldn't show up to the team meeting and not have energy and positivity and expect the team to have that. Right. I had to make sure that I delivered it first in order to demand it back. So if I want the people around me or the people that I'm involved with to have that kind of energy, then I better be the one supplying it first in order to get it back. So the accountability of knowing that every day at 8 a.m., my dad and I are going to be there, and I got to be right for that first to deliver it out to everybody else helps, because that gives me an accountability check of, just like it was in football, I know I got to be right for this time, but making sure that what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, what I'm reading are the right things to keep me in the right mind state. Like, we called them in football, we called them energy vampires. If you in business, it's the same thing. In your personal life, it's the same thing. If you have people around you that are constantly being negative, you have no choice but to be negative. Like,
Right.
you can fight it all day long. At some point, it's going to overwhelm you, and it's going to be too hard for you to continue to fight all that negativity. You've got to be around. You got to surround yourself with people and inputs that put the right thoughts and mentalities inside of you to keep your mind right, to then keep your actions right, and then stay accountable to those things over and over and over. I think that the complication of being happy and being successful are everywhere around you. Everybody thinks things are far more complicated than they actually are. I mean, I coached almost every position on the football field. At one point, I didn't know how to coach that position. I just had to get in and start doing it and figure out what the simple fundamental basics were to doing it the right way, and then figure out how to teach it and grow upon those fundamentals. So I think if everybody took that mindset of, okay, let me get the basics of what I'm supposed to do, right? Get the basics down so well that I don't even have to think about it, and now start building upon those basics, you could do almost anything. I'm not going to tell you can go be a brain surgeon. I'm not going to tell you can be an astronaut, because if you're 35 and you're trying to be an astronaut, you probably missed the bus on.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, the world is pretty much limitless as long as you're willing to attack it that kind of way every time.
Exactly. And again, we were talking about this earlier. I posted a post on LinkedIn, right? And that's pretty much what my message was just go live life, right? I mean, it's a simple term, correct? But sometimes that's where you find the answers to some of the most difficult things in life, is just following the simple ways. And like you said, you didn't even know some of these positions, but yet you had to go learn the simplest way to teach it. And then once you did,
and keep it simple. Like, if you overcomplicate yourself with so many different things, you have no idea or no way to get back to the basics and the roots of what you're supposed to be doing. So figure out the simple truth to what you need to do, and then just start doing it, and do it over and over and over and over. And eventually you will find success. Unfortunately, it probably won't be on your timeline, right? But then what are you really willing to do to get what you want, right? So, I mean, my dad said we all sucked at the things. True.
True. That it. He's dropping truth. Yeah, he's dropping truth bombs. He's just telling it what it is, because again, I think that sometimes our own minds overcomplicate the things that shouldn't be, and we undervalue the things that we should overvalue in the way we do things. And I'm a big proponent of you just like saying, hey, go take that first step. Go take that, whatever it is that you want to go do. And again, just like you said, here's part of the problem that people have when I say go live your life. They say, well, what if I only live 2 days, 1 day? Well, guess what? That's 2 days and 1 day. You lived your life. You went out and actually did the things you wanted to do. If it makes another 50, right? Just imagine all the things that are all the possibilities and opportunities going to open up if you take that step. And that's why when I saw you talking the first time, and you were talking about some of these similar things with Adam, I said, okay, I got to have Marc on, because again, he gets it. He gets the basic principles of how to be successful in life. And you define your own success. This is the way I've always believed it. If you're trying to compare yourself to other people, well, of course, I mean, you're never going to be successful. I mean, that's like if I said, well, if I compared myself to Jeff Bezos, no way. I'm not going to, I mean, come on. But
right. But I think you were willing to look at what are your passions? What do you really want to do? You enjoy producing content. You didn't allow anything to keep you out of the ability to do that. And now you're here doing it. I mean, I'm episode 81 of the broadcast. Like, shout out to Terrell Owens, I guess, because Terrell Owens was 81.
81, that's right. Get your popcorn ready.
I mean, you know, and Tracy, who is an unbelievable. Tracy was commenting in here. Tracy does an unbelievable job with, you know, an analysis of people and understanding behaviors and who you are in your cores to identify things that make you simple or things that can make you successful. Because the reality is you get told as a kid, you could be anything you want. You know, you could be anything you want. Guess what? At 14, I knew I could never, ever, ever be a Super Bowl winning quarterback in the NFL. Not going to happen. I'm not going to get tall enough. I'm never going to throw the ball hard enough. My physical genetics were not, and plus the fact that I'm Jewish, would never allow me to do that. You know, like Jay Feeler, shout out to the Jewish.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's the reality. So figure out what you're good at or what you really enjoy. Figure out what you have real passion about doing. My real passion is helping people. I love to help people be successful. I love to help hold people accountable. Like that video of me, I'm coaching DBs there. I'd only been coaching DBs for like a year and a half at that point, but I loved helping them figure out the technique to make themselves better and then having success. So everything that I did in college football coaching was about helping the kids I was coaching find success, whether that be on the field, whether that be in the classroom. That's no different than what my dad and I do at On the Ball Ventures. Is we help companies find success, period. You can say it any way you want to do it. Our unique trait is that we're able to inject energy and passion because that's something that we have that we can deliver to people. Right? Everything else, the sales expertise, the digital marketing expertise, everything else that we're able to help with, a lot of people that can do it. But can they do it the way we can? Because we love to do what we do? Probably not. And so when coaches would come try to, you know, sit with me and learn about what I taught on special teams and they want to know my techniques and everything, I would give guys everything I had. I tell them this is exactly the way I coach it. These are the rules we have. These are the words I use. Because I was never worried about somebody beating me at what I did because I knew they would never do it the way I did it.
Exactly. And that's the same. It's the same approach. I take the same approach with this show here. I've had so many people reach out and they go, I love what you're doing. How do you do it? And I go, okay, this is how. I'll throw out all the goods on the table.
Right.
Why? Because again, this is my style. This is the way I coach and teach. This is the way I can show people the best way. Everybody's going to have their own, but that's the best part about it. You have your own uniqueness about what you can do and how you can do these things. And again, you take the opportunity to say, hey, I will help you go do this. I'll put all the cards on the table. I'm not hiding anything. That's kind of like the Gary Vee method. Gary Vee says to give them everything.
Give it away.
Give it away.
Give it away. Because if people find out you're good at it, they're going to want it from you. Period. And if people find out you're not good at it, then you have to realize you're not good at it. And you got to figure out something else to do. It's not going to work. So, you know, I think you have to be willing to listen to the people that you're surrounded by. You have to listen to legitimate feedback. You got to have, you got to have drive, and you have to have fortitude to push past adversity and all those things. But if everybody around you is telling you they're not good at something, you might not be good at it. So I think you have to be able to also listen to criticism and be able to evaluate yourself and say, okay, is this really what I should be doing? But if you're getting good feedback, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And my dad told me this from the time that I was a kid, but do what you love and the money will follow. And, I don't look, we keep score. We have to. We're entrepreneurs, right? So we're looking at numbers for this month, next month, and the following month, 90 days out, and we have to keep score. But I'm not sitting up at night worrying about, oh my God, I'm not going to hit my number. I know that I'm working hard. I know I'm building relationships every day. I know I'm producing content that is building a personal brand. I know I'm taking every opportunity I can to join anybody's show, to sit down with anybody, to have a conversation, to let me be exposed to the world. and know that will continue to come back to me. I just got to keep doing it. Just keep saying yes to the right opportunities. And if it doesn't feel right, if it's not a fit, don't be afraid to say no.
Exactly. Right. You take that. But again, you're at least putting your foot into the door and say, you know what? I want to see what it's going to be like if I kick this damn door down and just bust open whatever opportunity shows up on your door. That's essentially, here's the thing. Everything that you're talking about, I've instilled into my life. This is why I'm sitting right here doing what I'm doing, talking to you. This is the law of attraction, bringing me to talk to somebody who's just as positive about life and what they can do in this world right now. And it all started by doing exactly what you said. And I've found the drive. I found the passion. I found all this stuff here. I continue to push limits, push boundaries, push a whole lot of things of what you can do with this stuff here. And again, that's the most amazing part is I'll lay all my cards on the table. Everybody knows who's anybody and everybody that knows me that's connected to me, they know I'm an open book. There's people that have been doing this longer than me who are more quote unquote skilled, but yet here I am finding my way to having conversations with some of the most interesting people out there. Why? Because I take this as a learning lesson every single day. This is my classroom. This is where not only do I get to show people, I get to learn. So I take everything that what you're talking about here, I'm going to learn from it as well. Yep. Because again, if I don't, then what have I been doing? I've just been wasting my time, wasting your time. Because again, I wanted to help reach people and teach them and give them the opportunities to one day be right here where they're maybe interviewing me or they're interviewing you one day and they go, I saw you on so-and-so show. This is how it happened. I saw you on Adam's show. That's what, and again, it's all about taking that first step. And again, I've talked to so many people who keep telling me that, you know what, you're going to get burned out. Your 81 show, whatever it is, I do this so many days, they tell me I'm going to get burned out. They don't understand that what I found is a passion to do this every day. Right. You did football for 10 years. Did you say, you know what, I can't get up and do it today?
No.
No, you got up.
The biggest thing to me when I first went to work at a company and they told me like I could take a sick day. I was like, what's a sick day? I don't know what that is. Like, if you're sick, you go to work. Like in the college football world, like there are no days off. Like you can't miss a Tuesday practice and everything's going to be okay. Like unless you're dying or like, your leg is falling off, like you're there and you better figure out a way to get it done for those kids and get it done for the team. So I think
So Rochelle Wallace has a good question, and I want to share it because I think it's really good. It says, what has been your greatest weakness and strength on this path? So what have been some of the obstacles to finding success right now, Mark?
I think my greatest strengths, are obviously my energy and my passion to just be successful, and not successful as in money, but be viewed by my peers as somebody that is reliable, dependable, and delivers value to them. Like that to me is success. So, being able to have a hard drive to be there, to be that person, to constantly be learning and wanting to know how everything works so that I can help in any way that I can. I think that's probably my biggest strength. And weakness is, I'm very, very self-critical. My inner dialogue sometimes is not as good as what it appears to be on the outside. I think, I will beat myself up over mistakes. And as a young entrepreneur and as a young business person, like you make mistakes, and now that it's a family affair all the time, the ultimate fear is to let my dad down in something. Yeah. So I think, being too self-critical at times and probably harping on mistakes longer than I should is probably something that's a weakness. But obstacles is just knowledge. It's overcoming a 55-year-old VP or somebody who feels like they know because they've been in it longer and that are resistant to change. I think that's always the obstacle. That was my obstacle as a young coach. Like, 7 years old as a special teams coordinator at the University of Cincinnati. Everybody else around the table has 30 years experience and this and that. And oh, you're just the young guy. Just shut up and sit there, and just do what you're told. So like, being the young guy always in the profession is always hard. But I think as long as you're willing to listen to what people say and think about it critically and creatively, you find your best ways through it.
Man, that's a great answer. A great way to look at it as well. So, all right, Mark, I'm going to ask you the question that I usually wrap up the show with. And this is the question that I ask every single guest that comes on. So when the book is said and done on Marc Nudelberg, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to, first and foremost, I want to be a great partner to Gabby, a great son to my dad, or great son to my dad, Steve, and a great father to my son, Kai. I think those are the three closest people to me. My younger brother, Jake, is somebody that I have mentored and helped grow. But to me, those are my rocks. Those are my everythings. And knowing that I did right by them and gave everything of myself to help them throughout my life is the most important thing. And that I carried the Nudelberg legacy on. My grandfather, Stan, was an unbelievable women's shoe salesman and, had started the Swagger years ago. And my dad has carried the flag for a long time. So now standing with him in a company, being in the same market that he has built lots of companies and had tremendous success, carrying that flag and continuing to grow what we do to wherever the future takes it. I have goals, but I don't, if it's a 5-person company or if it's a 500-person company, that's not really what's important to me. I want to make sure that we continue to help people forever.
Yes, man.
However that changes and evolves with the time. Now it's modernizing the sales process and helping people grow their business in the new era and how to build relationships in a virtual digital world, using new tools. That's what's happening now. But 15 years ago, my dad was helping people navigate how to really use social media when it was new for business, and helping people understand how to use Facebook and social media and really build a brand and message. So my dad has been able to help people decade after decade after decade. That's really the ultimate goal.
Awesome. That's an awesome legacy to be remembered for. Is saying that, hey, you know what? Not one, not two, but 3 generations are really helping to continue that down the line. That's incredible, man. That's awesome, Mark. So shout out to Mr. Steve Nudelberg for being super awesome and having a super awesome son. He is incredible. Yeah. So, all right, guys. So thank you again, everybody, for joining along the show. Everybody that commented, everybody that was part of the show. You guys have made this awesome. Thank you again to Roz Lowe for her contributions to the show as well. And of course, my guest for the evening, Marc Nudelberg. Thank you again so much for taking the time out of your evening and joining me here on the show. It has been a wonderful conversation, and I've really enjoyed it. And this is why I say that networking and meeting people out in the world will open so many doors and opportunities out there if you just go out there and start building relationships and talking to people.
It's where it all starts, with the relationship.
It all starts with, yeah, exactly. And then, yes, great show. Thank you, Steve, again for watching. And of course, everybody else, Rochelle Wallace, Tracy Kawa, Wendy Wanarangi, thank you so much. Yes, everybody who's commented, you guys are the reason, again, that we do this, and the reason why I get up every single day with a smile on my face, because I know I get the opportunity to talk to somebody new. So Thank you again, everybody. Tomorrow, let me quick shout out to tomorrow evening's guest. Her name is Jennifer Garman. She's written 2 books. She is a gratitude ambassador. That's kind of crazy. And she's changed her life using neuroplasticity to kind of retrain her mind, which is an awesome subject in itself. So we will be talking about that tomorrow evening. So thank you guys again so much for staying and watching the show. And of course, thank you, Mark, as well. Just hold tight, everybody else. I will see you tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, same bat time, same bat channel. Stay safe, stay blessed, peace, love, and harmony. We'll get through this together united. Thank you so much, everybody, and you have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.